What's up, fellow Gen Xers and enthusiasts? Welcome to Xhale and Rewind, where we're all about celebrating our unique experiences growing up as part of Gen X. We witnessed some truly impactful moments, like the Desert Storm, the Challenger explosion, the tragic passing of Princess Diana, and the death of rock legend Kurt Cobain. But hey, we also saw some truly amazing things like the Berlin Wall coming down, the rise of MTV, the birth of arcades, the launch of the We Are the World video, mixtapes, and playing Oregon Trail on the first school computers. And we are here to share with you just a little bit about what life was like as a Gen Xer. Xhale and Rewind. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Xhale and Rewind, right here on Mike and Juju Smoker. Now, this is a show where we like to spark up and then dust off our collective memories and remind ourselves why growing up when we did was both amazing and slightly traumatizing. As always, I'm your boy and your host, Mike.
I'm your co-host, Juju. For our first-time listeners, this is where we dive into that nostalgic experiences that shaped us into Gen X in our childhoods. No filters, no Instagram, just pure, unfiltered memories.
Yeah, and today we are tackling something that all of us have experienced. Family vacations from the 70s right up through the 90s. Those epic journeys where family bonding was mandatory and a lot of times agonizing.
Oh, God. The vinyl car seats in August, fighting with siblings in the back of the car, Dad refusing to stop for bathroom breaks.
Why, Dad? Like, these universal experiences that somehow unite an entire generation. Like, before we dive in, though, let's give a big shout out to all our subscribers and our monthly members. Y'all keep this show on the road, and y'all are much more reliable than our parents' old wood pedal vehicles were.
Let's hit the road and start our journey through Gen X vacation history, shall we?
All right, let's do it. The 1970s. Now, gas was cheap. Seatbelts, optional. And family vacations were entirely different than they are today.
Man, absolutely. I think the defining characteristic of a 70s family vacation was the road trip.
Definitely.
Flying was still pretty expensive for the average family, so packing everyone into that car was the default option.
Yeah. It wasn't just any car either. Like, we are talking station wagons, huge sedans, and if you had the money, maybe a cool conversion van. But either way, you were all piled into something.
Meanwhile, you were just existing, breathing in secondhand smoke because everybody's parents smoked with the windows up back then.
Ah, the secondhand smoke. Like, it's amazing we survived.
Yeah.
And nobody wore seatbelts. Like, kids were just flying around all over the bag, rolling around on every turn.
Safety third. I remember my sister and I making a fort in the back seat with the pillows and blankets. Can you imagine that now?
Yeah, you'd probably get pulled over. But in the 70s, like, that was peak vacation luxury for kids.
So, where were the families actually going on these epic road trips?
All right, so national parks were huge in the 70s. Like, it was the post-moon landing era. And there was this whole renewed interest in exploring America and all its natural wonders.
Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Yosemite, these were the big destinations. And you drive there with nothing but a paper map and maybe a AAA triptych if your parents were super organized.
Yeah, right. There wasn't no GPS, no cell phones, no tablets to keep the kids entertained. Like, it was just you, your siblings, and maybe the license plate game for hours on end.
And don't forget about Punch Buggy. Nothing says family vacation like siblings hitting each other every time they spotted a Volkswagen Beetle.
We call it Slug Bug, but yes. And I Spy. Like, even though it was really boring, like, really quick, when all you could see around were highways and fields for hours at a time, but we played it.
I spy something green.
Is it grass?
Yes. Riveting entertainment.
All right, let's talk accommodations. Like, where were families staying in the 70s, Juju?
2 words. Howard Johnson. Those orange roofs were a beacon to weary travelers everywhere.
Yeah, you can see them for miles. And Holiday Inns. Like, the best surprise is no surprise. Like, that was their whole slogan in the 70s. And, I mean, if you think about it, perfectly captures that 70s approach to family travel. No surprises, just the basics. That's what you're getting.
Motels were the standard. 2 double beds, scratchy floral bedspreads, and, if you were lucky, a pool that was barely bigger than a bathtub.
Cannonball! Alright, and every kid's highlight back then. That ice machine down the hall. Like, getting to fill up that little ice bucket was somehow maybe the most exciting part of staying in a motel.
Because I used to volunteer for the ice duty every night. It felt like such an adventure. Also, let's not forget the magic of the vending machine. Getting a candy bar or soda was vacation luxury.
Definitely. And like back then you had these roadside attractions. Like the 70s were definitely the golden age of those quirky stops that were just designed to break up your long drives. And when you've been in a car for a long time, anything's exciting.
Oh, yes. The tourist traps. The world's largest ball of twine. Mystery spots where water supposedly runs uphill. South of the border was its endless billboards.
Yes. And Waldrop. Like, they advertise free ice water on billboards for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And somehow that still wasn't enough to make everyone stop.
It's amazing what would entertain us back then. Now kids won't look up from their phones for the Grand Canyon, but in the 70s, we begged to stop for a giant fiberglass dinosaur.
Hell yeah. Especially if you could go inside of it. Also, 70s camping was huge. Like, you had pop-up campers and RVs, and they were becoming more accessible to the middle-class families.
Or, in my case, my family tried camping exactly once. My dad spent 4 hours trying to set up a tent. It rained all night. So, we went home the next morning. Never again.
Yeah. The classic one-and-done camping experience. Like, that happens sometimes, and people just be turned off to it. But like, we camped a lot. I love camping. For a lot of families, these campgrounds that you would go to were vacation central. Like, kids just running around while parents sit around campfires with other adults.
The 70s were also the heyday of the family photo slide show after the trip. Dad would set up the projector and the whole family had to sit through 200 slightly out of focus pictures while he narrated.
And here's your mother standing in front of that historical marker I made everyone stop to read. Well, yeah, I'm paying attention, Dad. I mean, I was on the trip.
And you couldn't skip or speed through them. You just had to sit there as each slide clicked into place.
Click. Click. Oh, hey, and the food on these road trips, like, it was all about those roadside diners and places like Stuckey's and Howard Johnson's.
Stuckey pecan logs. The holy grail of road trip snacks.
Right? And don't forget back in the 70s, like, they had those little boxes of cereal that turned into bows when you open them up. Like, peak breakfast technology in the 70s.
One thing that's really different about 70s vacation was that parents weren't concerned with making everything educational or enriching. It was just about having some time off, seeing family, and doing something different.
Right? Absolutely, Juju. Like, there wasn't this whole pressure to make every moment Instagram worthy or resume building. Like, it was simpler, even if it was sometimes boring.
The 70s family vacation was really about the journey rather than the destination, mainly because you spend so much time getting there.
Right. All right, y'all, let's jump straight up into the 80s. 1980s, family vacations really started changing in a lot of significant ways.
The 80s were where vacations got more commercialized and destination focused. It wasn't just about seeing America anymore. It was about having specific branded experiences.
Yeah, and this is where Disney World really became that family vacation destination during this time. Like, after Walt Disney World opened in Florida in 1971, it really started picking up its stride in the 80s.
Absolutely. Disney went from being a special once-in-a-lifetime trip to the standard by which all other family vacations were measured on.
Yeah, and it wasn't cheap. Like, it represented a pretty significant investment for even middle-class families. Like, I remember going when I was about 11 or 12, and probably 11, and we had to save for quite a while for it.
Man, that anticipation was probably better than the actual trip.
Right?
Getting those planning booklets in the mail, watching Disney movies to prepare it, was a whole pre-vacation experience.
Yeah, and then you get there, and of course it's like 95 degrees. There's 100% humidity. Like, you'd wait in line for hours just to ride Space Mountain or some other ride. And you may even get thrown up on during the whole process.
All right. But somehow in our memories, that was all magical.
Yeah.
Disney had that marketing down to a science.
Yeah, and the 80s also introduced us to another vacation phenomenon, though. I'm talking about that all-inclusive resort.
Places like Club Med started becoming popular with American families. The idea that you could pay one price and not have to worry about anything else was very appealing to the parents who survived the 70s road trips.
That's right. And let's talk about cruise ships. Like, family cruising really took off in the 80s as cruise lines realized, hey, we can market to whole families instead of just retiree couples.
Because nothing says family bonding by being trapped on a floating hotel with your parents and siblings for a week.
But hey, there was a kids club, and like the 80s did introduce the concept of vacation child care places where you could just go drop off your kids for a few hours of supervised activities.
Which was revolutionary.
Right?
Parents could actually relax for part of their vacation instead of constantly entertaining their children.
And of course, guys, road trips were still happening in the 80s, but hey, the vehicles, they were changing. Like, the minivan was now out, which completely transformed family travel.
The Dodge Caravan hit the market in 1984, and suddenly families had this vehicle specifically designed for hauling kids and luggage.
Yeah, those early minivans, they were basically rolling symbols of suburban parenthood. Like, complete with your juice box stains and crushed Cheerios in every crevice.
But they had so much spacing compared to station wagons and more cup holders, which was legitimately exciting technology at that time.
Yeah, like, they marketed all the extra cup holders. It was huge then. And like, the 80s also was when hotels started specifically coming out with family amenities like indoor pools and water slides.
Embassy Suites was founded in 1983, and they were game changers because kids could sleep on the pull-out couch in the living room while parents got their own bedroom.
Ah, bow chicken wow wow. Let's go, Mom and Dad. Alright, and don't forget those free breakfast buffets. They really became a thing then. Like, having a waffle maker in the hotel lobby, now that was basically the height of luxury in the 80s.
It's so true. Making your own waffle was the highlight of the vacation day.
Right? And entertainment on these trips, like, that was changing too. The 80s really gave us these things like the Sony Walkman, Like, all of a sudden, teenagers can now tune out their families with personal music.
And portable video games like the Nintendo Game Boy hit at the end of the decade, forever changing backseat dynamics.
Yeah, and some cars at this point now have built-in cassette players instead of radio, which meant you could actually choose what music you wanted to torture everyone else on the drive.
Yeah, no doubt. My dad had exactly 3 cassettes for road trips. One, I cannot hear it to this day, On the Road Again, without having flashbacks. Man.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get
Okay, wait. Stop it. I'm having PTSD. So, let's talk about vacation photography in the 80s. Because that was evolving too.
Yeah, this is when the introduction of the affordable video camera happened. Like, suddenly dads weren't just taking still photos. They were narrating a full documentary of a family trip.
So, these massive VHS camcorders that weigh like 10 pounds rested on Dad's shoulder while he walked around saying, "Say something for the camera."
Right? And nobody knew what the hell to say. So you probably ended up just awkwardly waving and walking off the frame.
Yeah. Then, when you got home, you had to sit through 2 hours of shaky footage of the hotel room and random landmarks with Dad's running commentary over everything.
All right, kids, sit down. Quiet down, quiet down. Now, here is our hotel room, kids. Here's the bathroom. Here's a view from our window. Like, really riveting stuff.
The 80s also gave us the rise of the vacation souvenir t-shirt. Every attraction had a gift shop.
Yeah.
And the expectation was that you buy a t-shirt to prove you've been there.
Yeah, like paying $30 for my parents went to Florida and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. Really became the iconic phrase of 80s souvenir culture.
Yeah. And those airbrushed t-shirts at beach destinations. Nothing says 1980s beach vacation like a neon palm tree airbrushed next to your name.
Right? And shopping actually became a vacation activity in the 80s. Like, this is where the rise of the mall culture meant that hitting the local mall was actually considered a legitimate tourist activity.
Especially if it was raining or too hot outside.
Right?
Let's go see if they have different stores than our mall at home. You know?
Yeah, and the 80s were also when fast food would become a standard part of vacation diet. Like McDonald's, Burger King, like Wendy's. Like, they were all reliable, known quantities when you were in an unfamiliar place. They felt like home.
And they often had those collector glasses or special toys that were exclusive to vacation destinations. So, kids would beg to go.
Right. Alright. One last thing about the 80s vacations, though. They were when international travel really started becoming more accessible to middle-class families in America. Especially to places like Mexico and the Caribbean.
But most families still stayed domestic, with Florida and California being the top destinations throughout the decade.
East Coast, West Coast, y'all. Alright.
So,
let's jump up to the 90s.
Alright. By the time we hit the 90s, family vacations were evolving yet again.
Yep.
With new technology and changing family dynamics.
Yeah, the 90s were when family vacations became even more kid-centered. Like, destinations were increasingly marketed based on what would appeal to children.
Think about all those themed hotels and resorts that popped up. Places like the Polynesian Resort at Disney or the wilderness-themed Great Wolf Lodge with its indoor water park.
Yes, yes. And speaking of water parks, like, they really became a standalone destination in the 90s. Places like Wet and Wild, Wild River Country, Water Country USA, like, these were all vacation worthy in their own right now.
The 90s also brought us those massive entertainment complexes like Dave & Buster's and GameWorks.
Yeah.
Where families could spend an entire day playing arcade games and eating overpriced chicken fingers.
Speaking of chicken fingers, watch this. I'm going to run a train on these. Anyway, don't forget about the rise of elaborate mini golf courses, though. Like, not just putting through windmills anymore. Like, now you're navigating your ball through volcanic eruptions and things like pirate ship obstacles.
Technology was changing the travel experience, too. By the mid-90s, portable CD players had replaced Walkmans.
Yep.
And some lucky kids had those CD binders with their entire music collection.
Yeah. And, like, car entertainment got fancier, too. Like, let's be honest. Some minivans even started coming out with built-in TV screens and VCRs. Like, that was mind-blowing luxury at the time.
Oh, man. Being able to watch The Lion King for the 47th time while driving to your destination, that was peak 90s innovation.
Alright. Entertainment purposes only, yeah. Anyway, navigation was evolving too, though. Like those giant paper mats that took up half the front seat were now being replaced by printed MapQuest directions, and they were really taking over by the end of the decade.
Which were somehow even less reliable than the old maps.
Turn right on Country Road 7.
And you end up in someone's driveway.
Yeah, and the 90s were also when hotels started getting really competitive about their amenities. Like, continental breakfasts were becoming the standard everywhere.
Yeah. And the rise of the hotel business center. For the first time, parents could check their work email while on vacation, which honestly wasn't the upgrade they thought it was.
Right? Hey, and speaking of technology, Juju, like the 90s were when these disposable cameras really became a staple of vacation. Like parents, they just buy a whole bunch of them, hand them out to the kids, take your own pictures.
Only to get them developed after the trip to find 24 pictures of the hotel ceiling fan or extreme close-ups of someone's eyeball or a booger.
Right? Like, that was half the fun, though. Like, the suspense of waiting to see if any of your photos actually turned out while on vacation.
Also, the 90s also introduced a new kind of educational vacation. Suddenly, it wasn't enough to just have fun. You needed to be learning something, too.
Well, no. Like, so many museums really start adding interactive exhibits, though, to appeal to whole families. Like, everything has some kind of button to push or a lever to pull.
And living history. Destinations like the Colonial Williamsburg, where actors in the period costume would tell all about the churning butter, while your parents tried to convince you that this was just as fun as Disney World.
Yeah. Look, they're making candles by hand. Isn't that cool?
No, it's not at all.
The 90s were also when adventure and ecotourism started becoming family friendly.
Yeah.
Suddenly, families were going ziplining and whitewater rafting together.
Yeah, and I mean, that was actually really cool. I mean, family vacations weren't just about passive entertainment anymore. Like, you could actually go out and do something exciting, all of you together.
Absolutely. Unless you were at the beach, in which case parents were now slathering kids in SPF 50 and making them wear t-shirts in the water, because the 90s were when we all realized sun damage was a thing.
Yeah. Everybody except for that one aunt that just kept sunbathing until she was just crispy. Gone were the days of baby oil and reflective sun visors, right? Now it was reapply every hour. And don't forget about those enormous floppy hats.
Yeah, floppy hat. The 90s were also when vacation photos started becoming more important as a social currency. It wasn't just about the experience, it was about proving you had the experience.
Yeah, right? You come back to school after summer break, and everyone would be comparing vacation stories and pictures.
Yes. And, like my family couldn't afford a big fancy vacation, that could feel pretty crummy. The 90s definitely amplified the keeping up with the Joneses aspect of family travel.
Right. Of course, by the late 90s, early internet access was starting to change how families planned vacations. Like, you could research destinations online, and you could do a lot of your bookings ahead of time.
So, you have to kick everyone off the phone line to use a dial-up connection. And hotel websites would take about 20 minutes to load a single photo.
Yeah, but it was worth it. Like, for the first time, all of a sudden you could see what this hotel looked like before you got there. Instead of having to rely on those little brochure pictures that show like one decent corner of the whole property.
The 90s really set the stage for the digital revolution in family travel that would come in the 2000s. We were just on the cusp of the massive changes ahead.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to compare the decades, Juju. Like, looking back across these 3 decades, it's pretty fascinating to see how family vacations evolved from simple road trips to these increasingly commercialized and technology-driven experiences.
I think the biggest shift we see in the purpose of vacations in the 70s, it was primarily about seeing America and spending time as family, even if that meant being crammed in the car together for hours.
Yeah, and by the 80s, look, it had become much more about specific experiences and destinations. Like, the focus started shifting from let's go see something to let's go do something.
And by the 90s, vacations had become these carefully curated experiences with increasing pressure to make them educational, adventurous, and fun while documenting everything.
Yeah. Technology played a huge role in that evolution for sure. Like, we went from AM radios and license plate games to Walkmans and Game Boys, all the way up to portable CD players and then in-car entertainment systems.
And the marketing of family vacations changed dramatically too. In the 70s, it was mostly aimed at parents.
Yeah.
By the 90s, advertisers were targeting kids directly, knowing they had significant influence on family decisions.
Yeah. I want to go to Great Wolf Lodge. And on top of that, the cost really shot up a lot. Like, what started as relatively affordable road trips in the 70s would evolve into major financial investments by the 90s.
But I think some things stayed consistent throughout the family tension. The unexpected disasters that later became funny stories, the bad souvenir purchases,
And ultimately, those shared memories that, for better or worse, they bond families together, y'all. Like, there is something special about being stuck in a car or a hotel room with your family that creates that special kind of bond.
or Trump, depending on
Or Juju. Fair play,
your
though.
family, you know. Well, our retro vacation slideshow is coming to an end. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling some serious nostalgia today.
Yeah, definitely. Despite all the fights with siblings and questionable roadside motels, like, there was something magical about those family trips.
Absolutely. I think that's why so many of us Gen X parents now try to recreate some of those experiences with our own kids, minus the secondhand smoke and lack of seatbelts, of course.
Right? Although, We can't recreate the pure boredom of those long car rides before digital entertainment. Like, our kids will never know the meditative state achieved by staring out a car window for 6 straight hours.
Or the creativity sparked by having absolutely nothing to do but make up games with your siblings.
Yeah, like, there was something just classic about it, something different.
Hey guys, I'm Loki and we'd like to hear from you listeners about your home family vacation memories from these decades. Now, what were your favorite destinations and disaster stories that have become family legends? Make sure to share them with us on social media. And if you have photos, we would love to see those too. All the bad haircuts, the embarrassing outfits, those awkward poses in front of national monuments.
And as always, y'all, a huge thank you to all of our supporters, subscribers, monthly members who make this show possible and Mike and Juju Smoker possible. If you enjoy our nostalgic deep dives, please consider subscribing and liking.
And don't forget to leave a review wherever you get your podcasts or shows. It really helps others find our shows.
Hey, next week, we're going to be exploring that.
They have to wait.
All right, guys. As always, I guess y'all have to wait. My bad. As always, I'm your boy and your host, Mike.
I'm your co-host, Juju.
And this has been Xhale and Rewind. We'll see y'all on the next side.